talking all that bullshit. I'ma put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but is not limited to, the meme coin king, Guapito. What's poppin', baby?
That's right, baby. I launched a meme coin yesterday.
Can you believe it?
Just to see if I could do it.
Did you just like, is this what happened? Like you saw Portnoy, like, wow, but Portnoy's scamming the people. Why can't I?
We're not going to tell anybody what it is because we don't want to scam anybody.
Yeah, we're not telling anybody.
It is incredibly easy to do.
If you find it on your own, good luck.
If you find it on your own, buy a lot, but you know, you have to find it on your own. So what, is that really like the thing? You saw like Portnoy like selling a meme coin and putting it out there and you're like, fuck it, I could do this too.
I just saw like stuff that's trending and then I thought, like, why can't I just go make my own coin on stuff that's trending? And I wanted to see how long it would take.
Okay.
It literally took me 5 minutes.
So is this like a new thing? Anything that happens in the world, you're immediately going to drop that meme coin? Like you're going to beat them to the punch?
Hey.
If it's not there, then yeah. I mean, if it's only going to cost me $5 to do it, then I mean, what's the harm?
You just got to beat them to the punch, put some liquidity in that motherfucking, you know?
don't even have to put liquidity in it.
I mean,
like
if you want it to go.
Well, I mean, you could buy a bunch of it, I guess. But then if you buy too much of it, then they can see that the dev has like a giant chunk, and then it's more likely to get rugged.
Okay, you want me to teach you something?
Yes.
All you have to do is put an ad on Berkey's Instagram, and he'll immediately buy that shit up.
Oh,
wow. Berkey's got to pump our bags.
We just have to cut him in on it.
He's just got you just got to put an ad on his Instagram. He's like, oh, an Instagram ad.
That only works if it's Scruff McGruff, the crime fighting dog. Mm-hmm. In which case, then yes, I would buy your coin.
60652.
That is a fire
I wonder
sweatshirt.
if there's got to be a Scruff
McGruff.
There's got to be a Scruff meme coin out there. If not, Guapo and I will create one today.
Wow, you haven't asked
be the bear.
Smokey, only you can prevent forest fires, and only you can prevent getting rugged by meme coins.
You can prevent getting rugged by being the dev that does the rugging.
That is one way to go about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know a lot when it comes to meme coins.
Dude, it is so incredibly easy to make. Like, I mean, like if anybody's in the space, they understand. Like with Pump.Fun, you literally just go on there, create the ticker, create the name of it, put an image on, and then give them like $10 or $5 worth of soul, and then you have a meme coin.
You give them $5.
That seems not great.
Right, that's why there's literally like 2 million like meme coins floating around. Most of them are all went to zero, but like some of them, you know, pump hard, especially if Portnoy's out there.
And it sounds like there's an AI program that some guy has running that makes $2 million a day.
I mean, I'm sure people just like are just making them. I mean, obviously, people are making them left and right. Like they're just like, there's probably people who are like literally trying to just have one go viral. Right?
Are there actually functional projects?
In
those
does the platform through which you create a meme coin hold any functionality?
The only functionality is to make a meme coin. You don't have to like do any coding.
No, I understand that, but I'm asking like, can it be utilized in a functional manner? Like, could it be utilized as a DAO? Could it be utilized, to crowdfund something? Could it be utilized to be utility for some other project?
Not really. It's just literally there to make meme coins.
I don't get it, man.
I mean,
if everybody knows that they're meme, I don't understand.
So that's
the meme coin casino. That's kind of just what we're living in, the world we're living in, the cryptoverse.
I mean, what use does Fartcoin have? Like,
I heard that Fartcoins
it follows a strategy. It follows Sailor's strategy, right?
No, that's Fart strategy.
No, I don't know.
Fart strategy,
that's micro strategy is Sailor.
Right. I heard that Fartcoin.
I
heard that Fartcoin is AI based and
it's attached to an AI project.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. So
there's the answer.
What he was saying is the website that you make it on, which you weren't asking, basically.
That is not what I was asking.
Yeah. He was answering about the website. People can put functionality to coins. Yes.
That was what it's incredible that we actually converse every single day. You're right. Like, yes, that's what I was asking. Is there any functionality to coins?
Yes, there could be.
Other than, playing some weird game of who gets rung last.
Almost certainly no. Like out of the 2 million coins that got launched on there, like basically 99.999% of them are just literally meme coins that do nothing.
But it's a choice for them to do nothing.
I believe so.
Correct.
I believe that is true.
Because you could just go make a website, right? Like I just made this coin yesterday. I can go make a website and have promises of like it's going to do X, Y, and Z.
Well, even if I just wanted to like launch a merch site and you had to use my coin to buy the merch, right? And like through that coin, I charged like markup or created a variable.
Yeah, this is more technical than I
believe you can do that.
Right,
that was my understanding.
Like in-game app purchases,
yes.
where you use.
Correct.
I think if you want to do all that kind of stuff, then you're not going to be able to like use a pumped up fun coin to do that. Like you're going to have to literally create the coin yourself, do the coding yourself, all that kind of stuff.
Is this kind of the basis of Virtue Poker in a sense? Where they created some sort of like in-game.
I don't know much about Virtue Poker, but you're talking about not the one Phenom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they're based off of an old model that Virtue launched.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, Phenom Poker.
I believe the answer would be yes.
Where they have like their in-game token of some sort,
which goes up and down by like how many people are playing, I'm assuming, and like rate that's taken.
It seems to be like
but
based off rate.
But you can't buy that token on the open market, or you can?
You cannot, but it could be sold, obviously.
Right.
Yes.
There's always a black market to sell this kind of stuff.
So, yeah. So I think that would be. I think all these coins could have functionality, but they just don't.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I don't know enough about it. I don't really care, to be quite honest, but I care enough in the sense that I'm always interested in utility, because like if there's
of course
better ways to solve current problems, then it becomes more interesting and platforms worthy of developing on. But it sounds like we let the inmates kind of just run the asylum.
Exactly.
On this one.
Yeah. Right. That's like, I mean, this is kind of just why you're seeing the market do what it's doing, which is just like altcoins are just bleeding and bleeding and bleeding because there's just so many of them and none of them do anything, and they're just memes. And
how's that Litecoin doing? Still hanging on tough.
I don't know.
I'm hanging tough,
it's
man.
Probably. I mean, everything has been down over the last couple weeks. So
Litecoin might just.
Last time we checked, I think it was like 130. So let's see where we're at here with Litecoin.
I feel good about
Litecoin 119. Okay,
yeah.
It's holding strong. It's up 35 cents today.
Yeah, that's a real. That's just a real tried and true coin. You know,
it is.
It's your granddaddy's coin.
I mean, it's basically Bitcoin.
What it is. Yeah, pretty
it's a fork
much.
of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like
it is, but like,
so
it's like XRP's cousin.
No.
Like all of these coins kind of may or may not have value.
Nothing has value, man. Life.
We're just living to die.
Just living to die, you know?
Nothing has value. No, I mean...
You know, Dalton sent me an Instagram reel of a frog with its arms wide open with Creed in the background. That had value.
That had
is
very...
it a meme? It's a meme coin?
Ticket coin Creed frog.
I'm going to buy it right now.
Okay. I just finished reading this book, 4,000 Weeks, and I think the purpose is it's meant to be like one of those reframing type of books that like kind of gives you an eye-opening experience of sorts, and it had the exact opposite effect on me. So have you ever seen those calendars that I'm not sure exactly where they originated, but they get sold, and it's like, I want to say Wait But Why was one of the first to sell it, and it has a box for every week that you're alive.
Oh,
and then you like cross them off or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the basis of this book. It's 4,000 weeks. That's like the average lifespan is 4,000 weeks. And it goes on to basically tell you how everything is meaningless. It's just like, you know, a 12-hour read of how everything is meaningless. And I'm like, buddy, you're just telling me what I already knew. Why are you sending me off the cliff here?
Just a speck of dust floating around in the universe.
It just like keeps hammering home the point of like, whatever legacy or thing it is that you want to leave behind 100 years from now, no one cares.
Right.
You won't have existed.
Right.
You could have just read like a Hormozy tweet.
Yeah. Well, Hormozy's cringe.
You could have just read the tweet though. It's like in 3 generations, no one's going to know who you are.
That's
get
the
over it.
However, if we're able to, with AI, upload our consciousness to the internet,
well,
maybe we just live on forever.
allegedly, we are amongst people now that will live forever.
I'm right here.
That's the expectation, is that if you're under the age of 50, there's some
We have a
chance.
chance?
There's some chance that you will live forever.
This is why you're on the HGH.
Yeah, that's why.
You don't survive long enough for the
cutting
technology
I'm
to.
cutting it close. I'm on the bubble.
Yeah. Well, with all those empanadas, you're bubble burst, buddy. Hate to break it to you. Going back to the Hormozy stuff, the influencer. It's funny because I recognize how cringe these guys are, and most of them provide minimal value, I would say. Less so the Hormozys, more so the Grant Cardones of the world. And I know that for the audience, maybe there's no difference between these two, but Alex Hormozy is basically.
I don't even know who either one is. So
Alex
definitely no difference.
Hormozy's long and short of it is basically he's an entrepreneur who's built up many businesses, but has a long failure story leading up to it, and he more represents bro culture in just his optics. He's a big fucking jack dude.
Yep.
Who gets after it.
He's
Wears
a
flannels.
bro. Look at him.
Yeah, but honestly, this is a guy I would love to hang out with.
Of course.
I just don't want to read his Twitter because it becomes nothing but banal platitudes. Would get fucking after it with him. He seems like a great guy, and he seems very intelligent and does actually have a story worth telling. And I gravitate much more towards that stuff. I only don't want to see it after I've seen it 20 times. Where Grant Cardone is more the Vertucci of the influencer space, if you will. Just got really rich off of other people's backs in real estate and then just kind of sells it.
Not really going to want to hang out with that guy.
Yeah, he's just a cringy 50-something who's been on T for the last 25 years and, is selling the $1 billion dream to anybody who has any interest in real estate, mostly. What's the other guy's name? Is it Ty something?
Ty Lopez.
Ty Lopez, yeah. He's another one. Just basically a total fraud. Doesn't really have much of a backstory as to how he made it. But what I'm trying to arrive at here is it's easy when you're out of it to look at all this stuff and say you're an idiot for following it. It's super cringeworthy, yada yada yada. But for the majority of people, they need something to get them through the mundane 9-to-5 grind day over day where they are just, not really pursuant of anything beyond their little scope. And I think that there's a place for this level of influence where, you look up to a guy like Goggins, where it's this guy, his brand is very clear. The guy's fucking hardened, It's just you think you can't do it, you can do it because Goggins does it. That's just his sole brand. And that is harmless.
And he was fat and had nothing, and now here he is.
Yeah. That's
what's your excuse?
Right. That type of stuff I think is really great. I think a guy like Gary Vee, and all these guys are going to have their problems. So whenever I say I like somebody, obviously I understand that there's a downside to them as well. But a guy like Gary Vee, very much self-made, very much an early adopter to internet culture and all of that sort of influence. Relatively harmless kind of guy with his motivations. E.T. the hip hop preacher. Again, a guy who's just largely full of hot air whenever it comes to his banal platitudes and his messaging and everything else. But they're great. Yeah. They're truly great. If you're just in a shitty spot and you throw on a fucking 5-minute E.T. the hip hop preacher speech, you're gonna feel better.
Yep.
Inky Johnson's another one. Love this guy. He was a collegiate football player for Tennessee. He got pinned in a hit, and it crippled his left arm.
Jeez.
Just completely crippled. He was going to be a number 1 draft pick. He was a cornerback, just this extreme NFL talent. And now he wears a sleeve over his arm. It just looks disheveled and it's a mess. And he's a motivational speaker, and he just talks about overcoming stuff. Guy's amazing. Hormozy, he has a lot of insight to share. The problem is none of this stuff can actually be done in good faith because the audience doesn't want truth. They want the flowery version.
Don't the hopium?
Well, they just want it. They want it delivered in a very flowery kind of way, right? Nobody's gonna follow the guy that says eat less, run more, work hard.
And none of this is going to be easy.
Right, and none of this is going to be easy, right? So like there's always an angle to it in some sort of capacity, right? Like with Goggins, he's the challenge type, right? It's like, oh, you can't keep up with me, motherfucker. You know what I mean? And then if you try to keep up with him, then you're looking at everybody else saying like, you can't keep up with me. You know what I mean? And it's like that spillover effect. A guy like Inky Johnson, he's more of like the supportive type where it's like, look how bad everything got for me. And like, I'm still here. You can still be here. You know what I mean? Like that kind of uplifting type of stuff. And I'm saying all of this. I
know there's a point in
this. Actually has a poker spin to it. I'm saying all of this because poker Twitter has turned into the cringiest fucking shit I've ever seen.
I was gonna fucking do it.
Like, what is going on here? I screenshotted my Twitter timeline yesterday, and it was like Chance, Seth Davies, and Jonathan Little, one after another, saying like some weird ass shit. Like Chance, like, you want to know why you lose at poker? Because of variance, and variance doesn't affect those who don't believe in it. And then like 2 seconds later, Seth Davies is like, you want to do hard shit? Get up and do hard shit. And then Jonathan's sort of like, oh, if you don't think you're winning right now, just fold, and then we'll move on to the next hand. You'll get him then. And it's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, no, and the thing is, the reason why I framed it out like that is because they're not doing anything wrong. They're doing what captures people's attention.
Of course.
They're doing what will get shared. They're doing the thing that will make people take a second and actually think about the messaging and stuff like that. If you just write, you don't defend your big blind enough. No one gives a shit. No one understands the implications of that. No one understands why it's important to defend your big blind more or less or the right amount or anything along those lines.
The Goldilocks effect.
You can reframe it as many ways as you want. You're losing out of the big blind. Just put that tweet out. No fucking engagement. No one cares.
This might be your new tip of the day strategy.
People, the only reason the tip of the day, and again, I was just as guilty of it, but I was tilted, so I did it for 7 weeks.
You were memeing that turned into like people were like taking you serious.
Right. Nobody knew the line. They'd read the tip of the day, and they didn't know if I was trolling or if it was actually a good tip.
There's all that shit
and it was
out there,
pissing people off.
I think sometimes you intentionally made it have a point, and sometimes you didn't.
I tried my hardest.
Like the 50-50.
I tried my hardest in every one of them to lay over a piece of decent advice while it was a complete just joke or meme.
It's 50-50. Like you pay the cost of reading the whole thing, but you might get something.
No, but what drove people insane was that they couldn't decipher for themselves whether it was good advice or not because they knew the bit,
right?
But they also believed what I was writing,
right?
And they're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I think this is good advice, but I know that he's trolling Jonathan right now. None of this makes any sense. And the truth of the matter was, they think that bad advice is good advice because they're so used to consuming bad advice.
This same exact thing happens in crypto Twitter.
It happens everywhere,
right? Because like
obviously.
people will just troll and say stuff, and they're like, "Wait, are you serious? Should I buy this coin or should I not do this?" And like, please tell me if you're being serious or not.
Right? Yeah. And I think it really does speak to a full circle now. It really does speak to the opportunity that's available for people who do have influence, and for better or for worse, tying this to the meme coin culture, that's leverageable. Like you can leverage that into a lot of different growth metrics for yourself, for your brand, for whatever. And that's obviously the driving force behind this. It's like, Jonathan and Chance, they have a company. Seth is launching a podcast. All of this is bolstering their brand in the process. And I'm not trying to pretend like I'm not guilty of doing some of this stuff as well. I'd like to think that I try to come from a genuine place whenever I write anything of advice, but also it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter if you think that you've curated the most honest messaging that you could possibly come up with, because somebody's either going to read it with a slant or they're going to dismiss it because it's not punchy enough. And I just find it funny to see it start to spill over into our specific space, because I do think there are a lot of guys.
Hasn't this stuff happened for a long time though?
I don't think so much in poker. I mean, I think there's been a lot of the like coaching shilling taking place, but that's a very specific lane. Like, it's almost unfair to throw Jonathan in there because most of what he's doing is like very, very, very specific to poker and like mechanics and all of that stuff. Where like when you start to span out into like Chance and now Seth and, you know, I'm sure that there are others that I'm not paying attention to. Maybe Charlie would be a good example. They're talking a lot more like life philosophy stuff, you know, and I think it's a natural inclination once you've made it in your space to want to do that in some sort of capacity.
Where's Ben CB in this?
Probably right smack in the middle, right? Because like he frames everything around poker, but like there's always an undercurrent of this is what it is to be an alpha male kind of thing. Like he's like what influencer would I best compare him to in the general space? Not Tate. He's not that extreme.
You know where I was going.
Yeah, he's not that extreme. And also Tate doesn't like offer any actual tangible advice for like making money. He just,
what do you
he
mean?
just tells you that making money is cool.
Well, he tells you to go to the course.
Like
and
Tate
then,
and Blitz are much more close to one another.
Somebody wrote that on Twitter the other day. Glance.
Yeah, they don't like have any
Was it
original
Glance?
thoughts.
No, it wasn't Glance.
They don't really have any original thoughts. They don't really offer anything tangible to the audience. They just kind of like, you know, spout out their personal beliefs and then flex about all the things that they've accomplished and try to make people want to mimic that. It works. By the way, also, that works really fucking well. I promise you that there were hundreds of dudes within the poker space and millions of dudes within the regular culture that were like following Dan Bilzerian during his peak rise and were just like kind of, you know, in on it.
Yeah.
I do feel like a lot of that stuff comes from the like sentiment of being imitated. Like people follow them to try to get to the place that the people that they're tweeting these things are, you know?
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm not trying to say that it's bad. I'm not trying to frame it as bad. I'm trying to more so frame it as like semi-dishonest. Which I guess
It's bad.
has an implication that it's bad. But I don't think
Sick
that
lawyer speak there.
No, but like I don't think that's necessarily true. Like I think that you can be like less than genuine about something, right? And all I'm saying is that there are different ways to message, and the flowery version in my mind is like dishonest because you're not cutting to the truth, right? Like you're hitting people with niceties, you're layering a bunch of fluff on top of it, even if it's not the tone of it is not nice, right? Like telling somebody to get off their fat fucking ass is not nice, but that's still layering a lot of flowery language around the true message, which is just like you got to work, right? And there's a big difference between those two sentiments, in my opinion. So I guess like ultimately, like I don't think it's bad. I think that people with influence should use their influence, and I think that like anybody who's trying to push people to better themselves in some sort of capacity or trying to demonstrate a path forward in the space that they're in to work harder and get better and stuff like that is all very good. I just hate the marketing speak. And I think that, you know, if you want to be bigger and broader, you kind of have to lean into it. But
you like the message.
Hey, man, sometimes
not the delivery.
correct.
Sometimes simple is effective. Look at Smokey the Bear.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
No nonsense. No get after it. Just only you can prevent forest fires.
Yeah. Puts a lot of pressure on you though. You know,
It's ironic you wore that shirt while you're burning it all to the ground.
nothing matters. You know,
It's
You get
4,000 weeks.
4,000 weeks. I'm down to 2,000. Like
Well, you might
man.
be forever.
Yeah.
nothing matters.
right.
Something pretty ironic. As you were stating that we might live forever, I literally get a text message that says, "Good morning. We're all gonna die," and then a YouTube video saying, "New evidence. We're close to extinction from AI." Literally, as you were saying it, my phone just vibrates.
Who sends you this stuff?
I mean, you know, I got my friends. I got my friends, my peoples.
Interesting.
Thought we were your only friends.
Only friends. There's a couple more.
He found out how to say special 700 episodes in.
Did I?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure that's true. Yesterday or 2 days ago, I caught myself. I was like, fuck, I did it again. I can't say it.
You only do so much.
Conrad and phonics.
I think I just changed it in your hearing.
While we're talking about all things dying, let's talk about things that are resurging a little bit. Yesterday, the PokerGO Cup kicked off, and it got a record field.
Oh yeah,
Popping.
$5,000 buy-in.
Hell yeah.
It got 185K. What am I talking about? It got
176 runners.
186.
Oh, okay.
No,
177.
sorry, 177. Yeah, I'm looking at so many different numbers. 177 entrants, roughly 100 of which were unique, I think, give or take. Maybe slightly even more. I know that they had an alternate list in level 2.
Yep.
So how many tables are in Go?
There's 11.
8-handed?
Yep.
So it holds 88 initially.
And they ran satellites for this, yeah?
They ran satellites for the first initial buy-in of this one.
Right.
Which 143 people showed up. And it was pretty sick because like they put out a tweet when there was like maybe like 90 to 100 people, and then 43 people just came running for max late res. Like, holy shit, there's 100 people in there?
So this is like on par with the 1-day 5K that runs in Florida. Actually, it's still a little bit smaller.
It is a little bit smaller.
Actually, it's significantly smaller.
Depends,
I got 179 for second place.
I guess it just depends on the series, but sure.
Yeah.
A 200 to 300, like, yeah. And also,
fair.
there was people, you could only
But their space is limited.
Just limited space, you can only re-enter twice.
Right.
So if someone wanted to be in for, you were in for 6.
I was
in for
just
6.
about to say, to be fair,
Right.
you were in for 6, buddy.
Yeah, I was in for 6.
Berkey pumps the prize pool.
This is why I don't play the studio. It's very clear that you can
Well, no,
just be in
it's
for
cut
all
you
of
off.
it.
I mean, look at that.
Is that
place.
Keith Lear?
That is
Yeah.
just
Hell yeah, brother.
He got 9th. I think.
My favorite grandpa.
packed.
He's
There's
awesome.
Baldy.
Wow, this looks great.
Look at them
Place
all.
is swarming with
Mm-hmm.
With hope
individuals.
and dreams.
Studio's so
Were
nice.
you?
It's
Wow,
just
that
so
set
nice.
was so
Landon,
good.
what do you think on today? Do you think
Look at Landon at the feature table there.
Wow,
Was
Landon.
I there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Place
Yeah,
is
there was
packed,
no
man.
cards weren't up yet, but yeah, I was there.
What is your thoughts on today? How is it going to go? Do you think we're going to see some? I know it's 10K today, so it's a big difference. But do you think you're going to see new faces in the studio
I'll
today?
put a higher lower at 120.
120. What does that usually get? Like 70 something?
90.
Yeah, that's interesting.
95.
So you're saying 30, 25.
I would take the
30 more
lower
people.
on 120.
I would take the lower too.
But that does bring up the question. Do you think that the appetite for tournament poker is growing, number one? And number two, if yes, do you think that it is mostly at this buy-in level between, call it 1,600 and 5K, as opposed to between 5K and plus?
I have an answer for that.
Okay, well, you're a part of the question.
I believe. Obvious. I believe that 1,600 to 5K is a growing appetite, and it actually might even say 1,100 or something along those lines. Because when, like I said, this weekend for the MSPT, there were so many people there that I've just never seen before, and like same thing happened with the yesterday in the satellite. Just a lot of new faces, and I'm not sure if it just came in town for this week for X, Y, and Z, but I don't know. It seems like there's a new crowd coming.
Could it be that like
I feel like this card has always existed, though.
in
you
a
know,
sense?
These people have it's always been around. Like 1600s have always done well.
Well, maybe it's that like in the last 4 or 5 years, like the 400 to 1K have done really well, and it kind of exploded, right? With like the numbers of the entries, and now maybe the people that are winning that money, now there's a new like influx of people winning that money that are now playing higher.
I just mean like when you're looking at 1600s and stuff now, like you're looking at good ones. There's still 1,000+ runners in these fields for multi-flights.
Yeah, it may not be
See what I'm
fair to
saying?
compare 1,600 to a 5K, but I guess maybe
Like-
to qualify this question a little bit better is,
And
do you
Florida
thi-
always does really well.
Florida's always done really well.
Yeah.
To better qualify this question, do you think that there is a greater appetite for these 1-day 30-minute level events?
Oh,
I mean-
I say yes.
I don't know if it's at the 5K price point though.
Yeah.
I think if you're running like maybe like a 2K one day and there's some sort of leaderboard or series attached to it, probably, because a lot of the guys that are in this now are regulars of the studio that are playing this for the series bonus.
Yeah, but you could counter and say a lot of people aren't. Right?
Is it a lot? Because I
You
guess
hit record number
I'm
here.
saying the dream seats number was 122.
Probably not fair to compare to, though, because they're trying to get into the free roll.
And they're not trying to like do anything for a leaderboard.
Yeah,
Like-
I think the satellites help too.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a negative. I do think that if Go was running satellites to these events while the event was going on or whatever, seems like a good idea.
Yeah,
Like we
agreed.
talked about before.
I guess in the past, I think we've sseen these 5Ks get, 80-ish quite frequently.
I wonder what it
15.
was last couple years, but yeah, I feel like today 10K for sure isn't going to be that crazy. Like yesterday was the craziest day in the studio history, I'm sure. Having the alternates from level 2, like when does that really happen?
Right.
They had the boss sitting out, El Jefe,
Yeah, Carrie
waiting for a seat.
Wow. Can't even get in his own fucking building.
I think that the price point of like 5K being the ceiling has a lot of room. I don't think places aren't running events like this, right? Like,
I think it's interesting because you kind of have a cross section here of a clear appetite and a bolstering economy, I would say, where there's more liquidity right now than there may have been in years past.
So more people want to play like 2Ks or 3K 1 days and stuff like this that don't exist at the moment.
Correct. That largely don't exist. The sweet spot mostly isn't there, right? Like if you want to play a 3K-ish buy-in, you have to go travel the tour and play a main event.
Yeah.
You have to play like a WPT main event somewhere.
Or it's
and there's
during
like
It's going to be 4
win.
days long.
yeah, and there's like 6 of them
Right.
Like-
all year long.
Yeah.
The Win has some 3K6 max events kind of side things too, but there's not like a monthly 3K somewhere or whatever.
Right.
I do think people like the idea of I can
Like a 3K.
I can walk
2K.
in here with $5,000 and by the end of the night I can walk out with 200,000.
I think so
Right?
too.
I think that's like a big draw.
And the reason why I pose this question is because it kind of is at odds with itself, right? Like a big reason why the ROI is so high, at least in my not so expert opinion, as I'm not an MTT guy, but I do believe a big reason why the ROI is so high in most of these like 1,600 main events, 3,500 main events, etc., is because the structure allows for the best players to reap the most
The
benefits.
fields are huge. There's probably a lot of dead money and the structure. Yeah,
The dead money
Lot-
almost all filters to the top.
Exactly, because
Right.
of the structure. Right?
Yeah. So, so a big reason of why the ceiling of those ROIs is a lot higher, even if you want to take it to the extreme, the main event. The reason why you could potentially reach a 200% ROI in the main event is because of the amount of dead money that all pools towards the top. That obviously happens in a worse structure event as well. The best are still going to reap the benefits, but the variance of the fast structure level things out a lot. Yeah. So, we talk a lot in our group chat about win rates and loss rates, and I was speculating that I think it's very difficult, even for the biggest whales in PokerGo Studio that are playing like 10Ks, to be losing 10% ROI. Like, I think that's really hard to accomplish based off of how fast the structure is, just being able to get a hold of chips and then finding yourself at the final table. Like, it moves really quick. But I think it's very feasible that the biggest whales in the main event are losing like 50% ROI.
It's just like a slow burn.
Yeah, they just like never fucking cash.
So
and when they do cash, they literally never win.
It's like min cash. And
They just can't play poker for 8 days against much superior competition and win. The variance cannot really catch up. You know what I mean? It's spread out enough that their mistakes are just hammered time and time and time again. Right. And if those loss rates are that large, then obviously win rates won't necessarily, they won't mirror, because there's a dilution effect that takes place.
You might get one guy to sneak through, right? Out of 10,000 people, one guy sneaks through and makes it to the final table.
Every once in a blue moon, yeah.
But out of all the other dead money, they're all gone.
To give you some perspective on the PokerGo 5Ks, in last month, the 3 that Pads cast, it had 84, 96, and 126 entries.
Right, and those were for the dream seat, so they were actually playing to get into $1 million free roll.
This is kickoff. This is kickoff, not last chance.
Oh,
this is kickoff.
Oh, okay. So this. Okay.
They kick off, and then they had.
So that's a perfect parallel then.
Yeah.
I think that's what the 5K appetite generally expects.
Yeah.
Like 84, but it was 84, 93, 126. Like 126 is a lot, right?
That was the last one when everybody came back from Florida. So like that's
it also might have been because Pads made 2 final tables, and
everybody just came running.
Everybody saw like if my hero Patrick Leonard can be there, then I can be there. That's a good example of an influencer that doesn't overdo it. Like, he's a little flowery with the
a little
good morning.
A little fucking flowery,
but it's harmless. But it's harmless.
Right.
It's a beautiful flower for a beautiful flower.
It's totally harmless, and even if like he's screaming inside and hates everybody around him, being able to put on that good face and spread a little bit of positivity, like
#positivity.
If it's bullshit, we can't tell it's bullshit. Whereas with Helmuth, we know it's bullshit. You see the difference?
I mean, yeah, sure.
You understand the difference?
White magic is bullshit.
Well,
no, but the #positivity is bullshit.
Well, I guess for the kickoff argument, people were in Florida, which means that they were gone, and then the numbers were not close, like 177, still obviously a ton.
Yeah, I was saying
there was satellites for this specific event yesterday.
Finding 50 new people for this one is
let's say 40.
a lot.
Let's say 40 because like
129 and 177 isn't 40.
10 of Saddies.
Huh?
10 came from Saddies, or 15 came from Saddies. Sorry.
Right, but that all that is an argument to run satellites.
Yeah.
Oh,
and Colpoy's got a seat, so it's not like, or not Colpoy's, Colopy.
Yeah.
So it's not like it went to 9 or 10 randoms.
Yeah, no, I mean
it's people that were playing anyway.
When it comes down to it, I'm not sure how many randoms got a seat. I didn't look, but anyway, yeah.
I wonder what brought them. Maybe I think it's just the leaderboard incentives too is a little bit different because the kickoff had no real incentive besides double points. So like the grinders that are playing all the time are going to go to the kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then people for the cup, you get 50K, 25K maybe because they made it smaller. If you win the cup, you get more money back.
Yeah, but do you think that like an amateur who wins the 5K, for example,
will play the 10 for sure?
Let me rephrase. An amateur who final tables the 5K. Do you think that now they say like, oh man, I have a real shot at this, and they start firing off what does it end up being, like 125K worth of buy-ins?
I don't think they fire off that hard, but I think they have enough to play the 10K and see what happens.
Yeah.
You kind of see it as like a step
that.
satellite, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you there. I think we're maybe overstating the impact on the draw.
I know for sure.
I think 177 people showed up because Super Bowl just passed. There is nothing else going on. Everything was backloaded to
MSPT.
leading up to the Super Bowl. MSPT's over.
No. So that's the thing. MSPT was last week, and they had 1,100 on Saturday, and then they have the 1,600 million that starts today.
That's what I'm saying.
So
the
it
Super
was a
Bowl's
good week.
over. Everything was backloaded towards last week, and now you have a week that is effectively dead everywhere, unless you're going to go, find the next WSOP circuit stop.
I'm sure some people spent off some cash in the 1,600 MSPT and then fired in the studio for the 5K, take a shot.
And then they stay for the 1,600 million.
All I know for sure
you guys are just repeating what I'm saying.
All I know for sure is that people that were going to play any event are shot taking event 1, and that might be it.
For sure. You'll see a decline.
By a lot.
Of course. It's a 10K next also. So like that's literally, unless they hit the step ladder, probably not taking another shot.
Right, but I don't think that, it's double the buy-in. We're not going to see half the field.
How many? I think it'll be around 100. 120 might be high. Over 100. I think over 100 for sure.
Right, that's what I'm saying. 100. 90 would be half the field.
Is there 2 buy-ins?
That's true.
Is it 2 entries?
No,
2 rebuys?
2 rebuys? I think so. I think you get 3 entries max.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
What would be interesting would be to know the actual unique numbers for the 5K and then see if it's half the uniques for the 10K, but I would bet it's not. I would bet it's more like 2/3
were unique.
I'm saying like, let's say there was 120 uniques for if it's like 120 unique for the 5K, then I bet it's like half, like 60 uniques for the 10K. But if it's less, if it's like 100 uniques, I think like 60 to 70 uniques for the 10K is very reasonable.
Yeah, I think so too.
I guess like to me, what I'm noticing from this is that there's clear growth or like some sort of appetite, and it's difficult to pin down on what the exact variable here is that's driving people's butts to the seats. Is it the price point? Is it the lore of the studio? Is it the timing of it all? Is it the fast structure and the one day type of stuff?
I think it'd
that's
much of it.
I think
But
it'd be
the problem
everything
is,
but
like,
the fast structure.
The problem is that none of this stuff is being tested elsewhere, right? Like the buy-ins are only tested in Florida, exactly Florida, and we see bigger fields than this. So we know that there's an appetite for the buy-ins. The studio is not being tested anywhere. Venetian has an opportunity to do that at a lower scale, and I hope that they follow through and do so, right?
Would be great.
The timing isn't really being tested. Again, there isn't much else going on comparable. So, we can't really look at it there.
I guess, does Triton count? Because there are some guys that would play in the studio that are going to Triton.
Yeah, but Triton is not for another 2 weeks, I think. And
That's right.
The overlap here is very minimal. Okay. And then finally, the structure. And again, the structure is not really being tested because for all intent and purposes, the structure that PokerGo runs for their high buy-in stuff is equivalent to a daily tournament in almost any casino around town.
It's very fast.
Right? The difference is that PokerGo doesn't rake you over the coals, and it's like the bell curve, right? Like the left side of the bell curve is like some jeweler who's going to the Jewel of the South to play a fucking 120 turbo daily.
You mean me?
It's going like, this structure's terrible. And then, it's the right side where it's like this elite super pro who's just like, yeah, the structure's not great, but like my hourly is really high. Mm-hmm. And then it's everybody in between who's just like, no, I need a 3 or 4 day long event. But my instinct is that like these 1 day events could be very successful. I mean, you just saw the 1 day event that you won was
like 300 entries.
300 entries, yeah. 300
for a
entries
1K, that seems pretty fucking good.
Like,
Think how good it is for the operator too.
Of course.
I mean, it's just so good for them, right? They're like, they don't have to run the studio for 4 days or
I think it
for
would
one
be pretty
event.
cool to see it. If there's a comparable sort of situation happening somewhere else where maybe the highest price point of like their main event might be the 5K.
Yeah.
Instead of it being the lowest one.
Right.
And seeing what that brings.
I also think Venetian has a real opportunity to test this kind of stuff. They can,
they really need to follow the
pull a couple of those variables and lock in on them.
They really need to just like follow, like we said yesterday, follow the same like PGT structure, do 1Ks at the same exact time, and late registration maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours after the PokerGO Cup,
or just start later.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
and I would and put a leaderboard out there,
or start earlier. Either way. Yeah, I know you got to get out of here, Landon. But I guess my last question
for 10 minutes.
Okay, good, because I have another question for you. I've lost it.
Oh,
God
meaning
damn
of
it.
life?
Huh?
Meaning of life?
No, it had nothing to do with that. It was
What do you thought? 4,000 weeks, man.
It had everything
Living
to
to
do
die.
with. It had everything to do with this tournament.
ROI structures.
Oh yeah, there it is. Perfect. Is this so? Like, whenever you're talking about playing with the structure specifically, and there potentially being an appetite for more 1 day type of events, do you think, from a pro standpoint, that it's worth it to sacrifice your overall ROI to have an increased hourly?
As in, like, max late?
No, as in
playing 30-minute
it's
structures.
a 1 day structure, so obviously your ROI is significantly lower. Like
I
peak
see.
ROI might be 25%,
Right.
as
But it's
opposed to
1
like
day.
100% in a 3 day event.
I see what you're saying.
But your hourly might be triple.
Personally, I think I enjoy the structure that they have now. It feels like it goes on for long enough. And having like the 1 day, like you play a tournament, you see how that goes, like you restart, like new tournament is going on, feels good for most of the environment, I suppose.
Right, but you're just talking all emotion stuff.
Yeah,
I'm talking hard clad numbers. Like you've made final tables of 3 and 4 day long events with WPT. You've made this final table. If I told you that you're making $250 when you go, sorry, that's not right. Was this a 5K buy-in?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's give you a high ROI. Let's give you 20%.
Oh, that's way too high.
Okay. I mean,
Call it 10%.
There's a big field.
$500.
Fine. You're making $500 to go play this 5K. And on average, you're going to play for how long is Reg?
4 hours.
Okay. So on average, you're going to play for 4.5 hours. Let's say 5 hours to make it easy.
5 hours.
So you're getting $100 an hour to go play this 5K. Or you can go play a 3,500 where your ROI is, call it,
you're asking me if
50%.
You're asking me if kind of like if Florida was going on at the same time as the studio, where would I be?
Let me give you numbers, man. They're in the same exact location.
I would play 3,500.
One's a 3-day event, one's a 1-day event.
I play 3,500.
But your hourly's lower. So you're making $1,750 by playing the 3,500. But on average, you're going to play 20 hours. Now you're making $85 an hour as opposed to $100 an hour.
I think I will make less money by playing the 3,500 on an hourly basis, but it is more likely that I win the tournament for more money, like Unicorn,
Right.
like Moonshot. Like it's worth it more for me to go play the 3,500.
It's like if like you had an actual real job, and it would be like, hey man, you can have this job. It's only going to be for a short amount of time, but you're going to get paid a good hourly. Or you can take this other job that is going to be a lot longer, and you're going to be able to like make more money, but you're going to get paid less per hour.
Right, you're going to get a salary versus an hour.
Also, I'm assuming you don't. My exposure stays the same in both of them.
Of course, yeah.
It's like you're going to make more money, but you got to work harder or work longer.
I think if my exposure is the same in both of them, I'd probably take the hourly actually. But because like real life situation, it would make more sense to me.
I think the real answer here is it depends how you're filling your void hours.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like if they're both one-offs, you take the highest ROI. No question. The hourly is meaningless. You get to play one single event one time. You take the one that has 50% ROI, not the one that has 10. Period. It's not close. Like you're just making more money. You're making 1K in the 5K. You're making 1,750 in the 3,500.
Right.
Absolutely not even remotely close.
Well, I mean, your time is...
No, because it's literally a one shot.
Right.
Right? It's just a one single event. But when you start to now add time in, it means like now when you bust this event, what do you do with the remaining time? Whether it's the rest of that day or the following day, like when will the next one be kind of thing? So really, I guess to make this a good faith question, it's if you got to play, an equal number of each per year, which one would you prioritize?
If I cared about money, I would play the 3,500. If I cared about like glory, ego, I would play the 1 day.
Or if you valued your time,
free time
for your free
right.
time.
It would just come down to free time.
Right.
Would you sacrifice? Would you sacrifice? Yeah, this is a salary versus hourly type of equation, right?
Kind of.
Like if you played 100 3,500s throughout the course of the year, then you're going to make $175,000. If you played 100 of the 5Ks, you're going to make $100,000. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't do math on here.
Yeah, $1,000.
Yeah, I think
per
where
event,
I'm at in like being younger, it makes much more sense to
But the difference-
spend my time, like
Right.
my free time playing poker.
Well,
I have less free time if I'm grinding the 3,500.
Well, right, but that's what I'm saying is if you took 100 of each, right, and you're playing, to play 100 3,500s would cost you 2,000 hours. To play 100 of the 5Ks would cost you 500 hours. So you're making more money with the 3,500. You're making an extra 70K a year, but you get an extra 1,500 hours.
It comes down
back.
to how hard do you want to work, or how long,
yeah.
Right? Like if someone offers you,
it's time versus dollars.
right? Yeah, I think if someone offered you a job and they said you have to work,
I think this is a really important. I think this is a really important distinction
Yeah.
though, because I think that what gets missed, especially whenever like young guys like Landon are coming up, they'll look to people who have already made it and have been accomplished, and they'll say, "Well, like, what would you do?" And it's like they already have money, so they'll take time,
Right.
100% of the time.
Right.
I also like not for just for the question, the hourly and the time. Like that's why kind of being not even just accurate, but aware of what your ROI actually is can be very diluting.
Sure.
You know, like if you think you have 10%, but you actually have 5% or you break even, this gets really bad very fast.
Agreed.
But if you're playing the 50% ROI, it's very unlikely you're losing in that tournament.
The margin of error is much greater.
Like you might be 30%.
If you're plus or minus 10% in both, it's a huge difference, right? Like if you're only 40% in the 3,500, you're still crushing it. But if you're zero now in the 5K, you're getting fucked.
And if you're 20%, you would have a good idea that you're 20%.
Exactly. Yeah. The margin of error can't be plus 10, but it could easily be minus 10.
You would FT everything. You look like Ali in 2020.
Or just God Laskowitz.
Yeah. And speaking of, I have to go join them, so I will see you guys soon.
All right. We didn't get a chance.
Good luck, man.
We didn't get a chance to talk to you about it, but you drafted a team.
I did.
Did any of your members make the
Patrick
final?
crushed me.
Patrick
Cherish and Joey Weissman both made FT.
Wow.
I got cooked.
Nobody took baseball?
No.
Unbelievable. What an oversight.
Bunch of snubs. Look, man, you can only pick 5 people. A lot of snubs out there.
Unbelievable.
A lot of snubs out there.
Unbelievable. Let me get in on this draft.
Actually,
Atlanta's
team sounded fucking horrible.
Well, none of them made the final table, Conrad, so seems like that's a pretty one-off assertion. You're not wrong. As far as this final table goes, of course, I can't believe nobody took him. Texas Mike leading the way.
Obviously, what a goat.
How does this guy just honestly like the fast structure just might be like his sweet spot?
Of course. Mm-hmm. He's ready to gamble, get it in, and fucking run it up.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that can like really be a nightmare for somebody. Just getting it in 2080, drilling it, never looking back.
Never looking back.
You know,
run, Mike, run.
He has 2x the next closest stack.
Yeah, he don't fuck around.
Weissman's second in chips with 4.5 million. I don't know what the blinds are going to be.
Weissman just gets shit
If I had to guess, let's see. If I had to guess, I would say that Texas Mike has 100 big blinds because Stefan Song has 800K last in chips.
Mm-hmm.
And I would assume that's about 10 blinds.
That sounds about right.
But maybe it's only 5. Or maybe it's 20. And then, Mike has all the chips.
Yeah. I don't think it's 20.
Either way, we can find out.
He doubled off, I feel like he doubled off the 5 big blinds there, right before, with 9 people left. So
who did?
Stefan.
Oh, okay. Baldy's in there. He has 2.4. He's about average. Cherish in there with 1.4. Danny... Why do I do this to myself?
Just Danny.
This name has to be missing a vowel. It just has to be. There's no... Name me a word in the English language that goes Q-U consonant. Can't.
Kutami.
There has to be a vowel.
Kutami.
Isn't that Ray's last name?
Quan.
See what I'm saying?
All right, so the blinds are going to be 50, 100K.
50, 100. Okay, so he has 8 blinds. Yeah. That means Mike has 80 big blinds.
Yeah, you pretty close. Pretty close, yeah.
Fucking okay. Mike, just get out there.
He's doing it, man.
You love to see it.
I want to know how to pronounce this name. I really do.
No, you don't.
I don't care that much. But
the only person that knows how to pronounce anything just left, so we move on.
Good luck to Danny. I hope you don't win it because I don't want to have to say your name tomorrow. No shade or anything like that. It's just, come on, man. Like put an A in there, put an I in there. Quit-a-me. Like that'd be perfect.
Yeah. Wow.
QUT? This has to be a misspell. I blame PokerGO.
Yeah, absolutely.
I blame PokerGo.
Yeah, they forgot it.
Yeah.
Speaking of last names, I think this one's a little bit easier to pronounce, right?
What do we got? Jesus Christ, Quapo.
What are you doing?
What is it? Scarfaggio?
Oh.
Scarfaggio.
That's Italian for cockroach for anybody who wants to know.
That's Anthony, right?
Yeah. Anthony Scarborough?
I think it's Scarborough.
Scarborough? Yeah, that looks right. I'm looking at something that's very far away. My eyes aren't that good.
Flowers to him. Looks like he won, right?
He did. This is the new Venetian live setup for anybody who hasn't had a chance to see it. This was the MSPT main event. Wrapped up day before yesterday? What Monday?
Monday, yeah.
Yeah, Monday. So this is their inaugural live stream. We were talking about this a lot yesterday. Their studio is fucking
great,
gorgeous.
Dude.
Yeah, it really does look gorgeous.
Looks good.
I know that they're going to be doing some high stakes cash games. The one and only Brian Oken. He's trying to call it Brian's game.
Oh boy!
Oh yeah! Let me tell you how that's gonna go.
Do I get an automatic invite?
This thing has a 3-day
All
shelf
Brian's
life.
get in?
This shit is over.
This thing has a 3-day shelf life.
I think it's a great name.
Oh, but I think it ended Sunday, but yeah, whatever.
But yeah, I am excited to see some cash games get spread there.
You think you're getting any invites?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you number one on the list?
I'm going to play him heads up and PLO.
That's how it's going to be every night, I think.
That would be. That's the one he can call Brian's game. It's just me and him playing heads up PLO, and I get naming rights once I beat his ass. Changes it to Berkey's game. Like that's the banner after. Like this thing just comes down from the ceiling with like confetti going up everywhere. It just says Berkey's game in the background.
You mean what happened to basically Nick Wright on FS1?
Yeah. Oh my God, dude.
That was
so good.
So basically, if you didn't know, Nick Wright was on the Chiefs, and he thought they were going to win. So they had like put all this money in for like
no, that's the troll. Band. They didn't actually do. So the troll was they said that they had believed so much in Nick's prediction that the Chiefs were going to three-peat that they had already spent all of their budget on the celebration for the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. And they go, well, we already spent this, so we have to do it anyway. So they went forward with the entire celebration with Nick on air. They're blowing confetti in his face. They bring out a marching band.
Banners.
They brought out they brought out like a quartet to sing a victory song. But then they changed the lyrics to the victory song and it kept saying Tom Brady's the GOAT. It was absolutely remarkable. Like shout out to Nick for being able to just like sit and endure that. And honestly like being a good sport, knowing that you deserve this.
Yeah, he was sick. It
like
was
this
really
is one
sick.
of those trolls that you guys could do to me, and I just wouldn't have any choice but to sit here and take it.
Of course.
You know?
It's
Go
one
Steelers.
of those things.
Go Steelers.
Go Steelers.
But yeah, getting back to the PokerGO Cup. So the 5K is going to wrap up today. 185K up top, 186 really once it's all said and done. Then there are, I believe, 4 or 5 10Ks in a row, and then a 20. No, that's not true. This escalates this one. I think it's 2 10Ks, 2 15Ks, and a 25K to wrap, if I'm not mistaken.
30 seconds. I'll tell you.
Which that aspect of it becomes a lot more interesting to me because
So incorrect. There is 4 10Ks,
okay,
then 2 15Ks, then a 25K.
okay, so it's 4-2-1.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're just playing more events than I thought, but it's interesting because like going full circle now back to the question of like, is this a new boom? Like, is this maybe the highest growth area of MTTs?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like, I mean, this is a mini Triton, right? Like this is a Triton minus a 0.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. 0 is a lot.
Well, 0 is a lot, but like, you know, 25K is not anything to sneeze at.
It's just kind of a stepping stone
Yeah,
for people.
it's like their bottom is their top.
Correct.
The,
yeah.
The PokerGO or the Triton bottom is PokerGO top.
Yeah, PokerGo's kind of doing with Triton what I'm suggesting Venetian should do with PokerGo.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Which would do
Which
really
is great. We want the stepping stones to get to like have a pathway to.
Yeah.
This is the problem with
rollers.
cash for so long. There were no stepping stones.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder.
What do you
I think sustainability. This is the best version of the MTT economy.
Meaning stepping stones for like higher events in a sense.
If again, we're talking hypothetical, but let's say Venetian stepped up and they decided to create their own their
mini version of
what do they call it? The deep stack store.
Yeah.
So they take their daily deep stacks extravaganza.
Mm-hmm.
And they decide to mock off of what PokerGo has done.
So a 500 to start, 4 1Ks, and then
2 1500s and a 2500 to finish.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds fucking
All
juicy.
1 days.
That would be amazing.
That's great. Yeah.
All 1 day structures,
You get to
right?
play it
But-
right in their studio too.
Wait,
Go on. Yeah,
so
sorry.
they do this right before the PokerGo Cup.
like the week before.
Well, I guess like a week and a half.
Yeah. Okay. That's
But
cool.
it ends right when the
So instead of the MSPT last week, they have the deep stack extravaganza cup,
Mhm.
right? Then PokerGo Cup, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, and then they bring in MSPT right afterwards. That would even be better for them.
Yeah.
Right? So they have their deep stacks extravaganza to warm everything up, MSPT during Super Bowl week, and then the following week is the PokerGo Cup. Now, the PokerGo Cup runs for 10 days. They do a 5K, 4 10Ks, 2 15Ks, and a 25K, and then they're running sporadic satellites throughout, right? Then Jeju Triton begins, right? And that's a 2-week festival. All of these events are all 2-day events. Every single one of them. from the Venetian low stakes to the PokerGo mid stakes to the Triton nosebleeds, right? Or let's call PokerGo high stakes, Triton nosebleeds. So mid stakes for Venetian, high stakes for PokerGo, nosebleeds for Triton. And all of this occurs. And then this happens 4 times a year. So this is just like a pretty consistent cycle. I think from a retention level and from a sustainability perspective, they're able to lessen rake because the events go relatively quickly. They have everybody funneled into a central location for a short period of time. Venetian, Aria, and whatever casino they're operating out of Triton all benefit for the hotel aspect of things. They're able to cut a little bit of a break with poker rate, maybe food, comps, etc., stuff like this. Great experience for the players. Great experience for the hosting site. Good experience for the tours. Because they start to piggyback off of one another.
What if you got like for each leg of this, you got like if you win the main event, you get a seat into like the main event of.
Could easily do that,
right?
Or maybe not the main, but like the first event.
Else,
the first event.
So now you're like getting So you can like literally watch somebody.
That would actually require a partnership, though.
It would.
Where this could exist independently.
Right.
To be fair, they already have a partnership.
They do, but I'm saying this could exist independently. Like we're implying that Venetian should do it because it makes sense.
Right.
But like fucking Borgata could do it if they wanted to.
Yeah, true.
But it would create storylines, right?
The point that I'm trying to arrive at is like for the MTT community, this is very sustainable. Number one. Number two, it's a lot more inexpensive because you're centrally located. You have 3 stops. Right? Like you don't have to be doing constant travel and stuff like that. And then for the tours themselves, it's a great growth metric because you have a very clear funnel, from beginning to end. You have a lot of story. Like this becomes really easy to market.
Yeah.
All 3 of these tours, Triton being the least, I think, guilty of this. But and actually, I shouldn't even just shine a light on these 3. This is true of every single MTT venue and tour out there outside of WSOP and WPT. They all have marketing problems.
Agreed.
They all have marketing problems. They don't have loyalty to brand, which why would anybody? If you're an MTT player, you just go where there's value. They don't have storylines. They don't have heroes. They don't have villains. They don't have any of this stuff that's compelling, right? And they trust news outlets like Poker News, Poker.org, maybe even to a degree us, to start to paint the narratives for them and to get brand awareness that way. Like, nobody's covering PGT this week. We're doing... because it's interesting to us, right? We're in the arena to some degree. Landon's going to play. I'm adjacent, playing high stakes cash. But a lot can spawn off of this. Triton already has cash games that run during their festival. PokerGo tested that out, running the table 1 game during the kickoff. They could do more of that in the future, I'm sure, if they wanted to. Venetian has their own live stream that they could be operating whenever there's no final table there. Like there's a lot of bringing in all walks of life from the poker community here. I'm really selling myself on this of it being great because
I'm all for this.
The biggest reason why I think it's so great is because you basically either become a one-dayer or a main event player. And there isn't going to be like a ton of overlap on the 2 crowds. And what you're going to find is that one lifestyle is very sustainable, where the other lifestyle has a lot of home runs. And it's going to be the exact equation we just presented to Landon. Would you like a lot of your time back for a lesser ROI, but a higher hourly? Or would you like to be paid a much higher return year over year with a much greater hourly investment, as well as travel and all the expenses and everything that comes along with it? I think what you're going to find is that due to the high variance nature of MTTs, the expense of travel, the cost of rake, whenever you're talking about a 3, 4, 5, 6 day main event, sometimes whenever they're running multiple day ones and all this other stuff, I think that you're actually going to find a lot of efficiency in this single day model, or 2 day model, I guess, since the final table is day 2.
Yeah.
I think you're going to find a lot of efficiency here. And the only threat to growth getting very capped in this particular space is that the recreational players don't find it interesting enough, or the middle of the pack can't win enough, right? Because what ends up happening is
all the money gets
the recs aren't losing that much. The best regs are winning a large chunk of what they're losing. And the break-even players understand that they're breaking even a lot faster than they would in a 3-day main event type of structure.
Right.
So that's the only real threat to it. But that just means your churn now is in the middle instead of at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Most ecosystems fail because the bottom gets lopped off.
Yeah.
Right? Cash games died for a long time because there was no acquisition at the bottom. You just weren't getting enough recreational money to come out. And what ended up happening is we lost the bottom altogether to the private venue and everything else. And now all the guys that were eating in the middle, that were making like a very small hourly or whatever, they became the bottom and they became aware of it really quickly.
Right.
So all the churn just affected it, and it became a reg fest where it was just a bunch of reg battling. But here, it actually creates churn in the middle, where it's like a lot of your break-even players are going to realize maybe this isn't for them, or they need to get better. So they're either going to work or they're going to veer off into WPTs, WSOPs, travel the circuit, go back to that old grindy lifestyle and, kind of pull the wool over their eyes for a lot longer a period of time. But that's okay. That's okay because that's really easy to just regenerate because somebody will have just won a WPT and they'll come right into the system. They'll say, I want my time back and I want to play these and I have a clear path for these. I know in February I'll be in Vegas and I'll play the Venetian for 10 days and I'll play PokerGO for 10 days. And if that goes well, I might go to Jeju. Yeah. And if it doesn't go well, then I'll be back in Vegas in May. I don't know, man.
It's sharp. It's beyond sharp because, like, if not like this, then the other, we were saying, the other, whatever situation is like you're traveling to 1600s around the country and 3500s, and it's just like, it's not sustainable for most people for travel.
The biggest thing that I notice between when we were coming up in the early 2000s and now is how diluted the entire space is when there are events running. So there's no premier event any longer. Whereas in the past, I was never an MTT guy. I played tournaments, but I was always a cash guy.
Okay.
I traveled to every fucking spot. I traveled to every WPT 10K between 2005 and 2008 without ever having played one.
Okay.
Because the cash games were unbelievable.
Right.
Like you just knew you were going to get the best 5, 10, 10, 20 games in the world at that time because if you played poker seriously, you were there.
Yeah.
I remember in Fallsview in 2006.
Where the hell is Fallsview?
Canada.
Oh, yeah, okay. Niagara.
WPT came for the first time in 2006 or 2007. I think it was 06. They came to Fallsview for the first time. It was a 5K main event Canadian. And I tried to satellite my way in. Eventually I got, actually it might have even been 10K Canadian. Either way, it doesn't matter. Fallsview is a small room. It's like 15 tables maybe.
Okay.
I went there with 5K. I won my seat into the main, but I played 1025 for the majority of it. The lists were 200 people deep. Remember Greg got caught? Not to throw our boy under the ground,
He was list jumping?
He'd be like, what are you guys doing waiting? Like, you're such idiots. You just go and you stand by the desk and they call a name.
Oh, that's me.
And you just wait. And then they call the name again and you wait. And they say, final call for Dave. And you come running up and go, I'm Dave.
And it doesn't matter because there's 200 some people on the list. They don't remember who you are.
Right. And he got caught because he said, I'm Dave. He went and sat and played like an orbit and a half. And Dave showed up.
Oh, wrong.
Different Dave.
And he came to the counter and he was like, what happened? Like, I'm Dave. You called me. Like, what? They're like, we sat you. And he's like, no, I'm Dave. But yeah, back then, the hype was very centralized, right? There was only one place to be at a time. And then eventually it grew to well, there was an East Coast swing and a West Coast swing. So it's like there was a place to be on the East Coast at all times. That was rivalry. This is my special.
Rivalry.
I can spell it. I can say rivalry.
Rivalry.
Say rival.
Oh my God! Stop.
Add ing.
Why would I add ing? That's not a word.
What are you trying? Rivaling?
It's not a word?
I don't think so. Whatever you're trying to say is probably not a word. That's probably why you can't say it.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe rivaling?
Rivaling. Thank you. I was smashing 2 words together. Thank you.
Rivaling.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Guapo. You understand me. Nikki's the only person who understands me. She makes up words too. Wait, so what's the actual word?
Rivaling.
Rivaling. Yes. I've heard that word
That's
before.
amazing.
English, my second language.
So there was always something on the East Coast that was rivaling something on the West Coast. And it just built up from there. Like then eventually the Midwest was like, well, what about us? And the MST, prior to the MSPT was, man, I can't remember.
What was it called? It was, I know what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about too, because they had it at the Palms.
Yeah. And I think, I want to say it started in Minnesota and it originated there. But I think MSPT bought them out, or absorbed them in some sort of capacity. We're just saying they because none of us can remember the name of the goddamn tour,
right?
But it was basically a Midwestern type of tour,
mid-stakes tour.
Well, yeah, it was middle of the road buy-in too, but it really focused on those Midwest, type of, and from then the circuit was born, and then deep stacks, which then became prime, and now there's such a high dilution. It's like you can't even find a single location for a buy-in level. Right. Like if you're like, oh, okay, well, surely there's a major event going on right now that's a $1,600 main. It's like, well, actually there's 6. And they're spread out all over the country. And what ends up happening with that is you never get a concentration of poker players to any one single area. Now, on one hand, that can kind of be a good thing because it means that there's traffic everywhere. Right? It means that there's traffic in LA right now for LAPC. There's traffic in Vegas because it's Vegas. And, Go is going on and MSPT just wrapped. There's traffic in Florida because it's Florida and there's always something going on. There's traffic in Maryland because, maybe they're bringing a circuit event there or Cherokee or whatever. And all of that's great. And it will still exist in this model that we're manufacturing in our head. But what will become clear, at least to me anyway, and it should be clear to the people that cover this type of stuff, is if this were to occur where there was a set 10-day stretch for 3 different buy-in group levels, the mid stakes, the high stakes, and the nosebleeds, it should be very clear for anybody who's in the media side of things that becomes the focus. Yeah. That is the event.
Right.
Because the crossover, the through line from the first $500 buy-in to the last $500K buy-in is going to be one that's worthy of following. Somebody out there will start at the Venetian
and work their way all the way
at Triton.
Yeah, right.
Somebody for sure.
Right.
And
what
that
a great storyline.
Yeah, even if it's like a known, even if it's like a Francis Anderson or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's like it's compelling. And it creates a spotlight on the industry in a very specific way. Yeah. And that won't mean that like people won't give a shit about the WSOP circuit at Cherokee or the WPT running, Florida or whatever the case may be. Of course, when those things go off, they'll pull away from this. But also remember, this is only happening 4 times a year. Right. So there's plenty of pockets for all of that stuff to coexist. Yeah. The World Series will still be the World Series. Right. And that's the thing about the World Series. It's the one time of year where we have a highlighted event that everybody's at.
Yeah.
Nothing else across the country matters.
Right.
There's other shit going on and no one cares. It's centrally located at the WSOP. And honestly, it's almost disheartening because it's such a big deal that it's diluted the World Series coverage because there's so many other fantastic events around town. Now all of a sudden you have to cover the Wynn, the Aria, the Venetian, the Go Studio. There's so much shit going on, and that's really tough to kind of like focus your attention. Right, the Nuggets, popping off their 1100, rocking their uncapped cash games. But I do think that it's important to highlight this kind of stuff whenever it presents, because it does give the opportunity for poker to find some growth and retention. Yeah. Not just that's important, but also just naturally.
Yeah. So funny enough, there was Kyle P was asking a bunch of people at the tables, like, what made you come play this satellite? You know, people he never saw. And he's like, and a couple of answers were it was on the stream, like they were promoting on the stream from last month.
Okay.
So like getting the word out there means a lot, you know, like it seems like people.
When you say stream, you mean the YouTube one?
The YouTube PokerGO, yeah.
Right, yeah. I think that's a clear indicator of like why it's so important.
Yeah.
For it to be free too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right, and that's another advantage that Venetian has. They're not stuck behind a paywall, and they never will be. So like, yeah, just us being able to highlight this kind of stuff. I think that like, you know, there to me anyway, there's just like a lot that builds off of this. Like then content creators start to roll in. Yep. Like you literally have vloggers that are specific to this journey. You know, like I'm gonna start at the Venetian and I'm gonna end at the Triton. And that's their sole vlog platform.
Yeah, that would be really good. And it's like it gives you a story to do it. Like it gives you a chance.
So easy.
Yeah.
You don't have to storyboard anything. Like you just have the vision right there. All you have to do is go out and perform.
Yeah.
And it might take a month, it might take a year, it might take 5 years. But like, you know, the dream and the journey is just like easy for the audience to understand.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, I don't know, man. As much as I shit on MTTs, I'm kind of here for this. Even though, you know, I do recognize as a professional, sacrificing ROI for the sake of the greater growth isn't always a dream scenario. But in this instance, I think it does pan out pretty well because you get so much of your time back.
Yeah, and you're still going to have all these 3,500 WPs. You're going to still have all these other series around. Like, they're not going to intervene like the same, like, you know.
If anything, they can piggyback off of.
Exactly.
Right? Like, oh, Venetian's running a turbo series of 1 days. Guess what the wind's running? 3,500 main.
Yeah, you know.
Like, and it's going to start the day that the 2,500 ends or, you know, a week before, whatever. Like, there's just a million ways to benefit off of this.
They should really just pay us to make all the schedules.
You know, I'm telling you, man.
This is absurd.
I'm
tired of this shit.
I'm out here doing the Lord's work.
Really?
How do we bring it all together?
That's the question. There has to be just someone doing something to make it all together, like to mold it all.
You know what they need?
What do they need?
They all just need one uniform podcast to get out there and get this whole thing popping.
They just need some OnlyFriends?
They need OnlyFriends.
They do need OnlyFriends, so you hear that.
We all could use.
Get yourself some OnlyFriends.
I think I'm going to launch the OnlyFriends influencer.
Listen, it probably already exists.
I think I'm going to turn the OnlyFriends Twitter into a bunch of banal platitudes.
What the fuck did you just say?
Banal platitude
means an empty phrase of encouragement.
Okay.
You know, effectively.
Strong.
Like, hey, go work harder. No shit.
If you didn't
that doesn't
think
mean
it,
it. You know, that doesn't mean anything.
If you didn't think this already, you're dead.
Right. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
nothing means anything because we only have 4,000 weeks. All right,
You
that's
got
going to do it for
2,000
us.
2,000.
I only have 2,000. That's going to do it for us. We're going to be back again tomorrow, same time, noon Pacific. I believe Andrew Barber is going to be joining us. And coincidentally enough, this conversation will probably carry over because he and I have been wanting to talk about the David Foster Wallace speech, This is Water, which I think is a pretty good transition off of the influencer culture. We'll also talk a little bit about the MTT economy again as I run this idea by him and anything else he's been itching to get off of his chest. So we'll see you guys all then.
Later, squad.
Peace.